Hello. I get it's call and recall. Come on. Hello. Hello. Hey, that's good. Welcome to the first of the Melbourne Design Thinking meetups. Round of applause. The first of many Melbourne Design Thinking meetups, hopefully. So, order of the day, we will do some introductions. We will let John, who is the CEO of Natural Velocity, tell you a little bit about the place. Give John a round of applause for putting himself on. Yeah, we'll do some shout outs now, why not? Thank you, Sign. Where's Sign? There's Patrick over there for the pizzas. And thank you everyone else for coming in as well. But first and foremost, and we should always begin with acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet. Thank you. The Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and we pay our respects to their past, present and emerging leaders. So, here we are, Melbourne Design Thinking. So what I'll do, I think, is hand over to Rachel. Rachel Zhang.
I think we're handing over to John.
Oh yeah. It's not my first job, this. Over to John. So John's going to give us a bit of a rundown on Natural Velocity. Apologies, John. We got there in the end. Give him a round of applause.
First of all, a really big welcome along to Natural Velocity tonight. Very excited to have you all here. I get asked a lot, what does actual Natural Velocity do? You seem to have a few things all going on, and so I'm just going to give you a quick run through, take about 5 minutes, what we do here. There we go. All right, thank you.
We're a friendly bunch here.
Yeah, very friendly. I've never had applause like that for a fault fixture, so that's awesome. So thank you everyone, welcome along to Natural Velocity. Super excited to have you all here. So just a bit about us. We are an ecosystem, and what we're here to do is we want to accelerate the adoption of responsible AI. We want to speed it up. Who loves AI here? All right, my wife actually says she wants to marry ChatGPT instead of me, so anyway, moving on. So AI is set to contribute $315 billion to the Australian economy by 2030, but are we going to get there? This is the big question. So for those of you who read the recent Melbourne Uni KPMG report, we came 9th last, people, 9th last globally. This is woeful. Latest productivity stats came out, 105 out of 146 countries. We're bad. We're real bad. So this is a problem. So Natural Velocity, we've analysed all these problems and looking at people's pain in terms of adopting AI. I would like to introduce you to someone. This is Unhappy Harry. Look how depressed he is. Now he wants AI. He's going, I want the productivity benefits, the cost-saving benefits, but boy, there's some problems here. First one is, he doesn't know where to start. He doesn't know who to trust. He doesn't know how to stay current. Then the media is really good at talking about things like bias, hallucination, jailbreak, cyber, PII, and the list goes on. You can see why he's so depressed. Next thing, now Harry could come from any industry vertical. He's going, hang on a sec, I'm a lawyer. What are all the other legal firms doing, and why can't I pick up what they're doing that works really well and drop it into my business? Guess what? Blueprints don't exist for that. Amazingly enough, Australia's going to need 129,000 additional AI people by 2030. Where are they going to come from? So the issue is universities are struggling now to keep up. So Model Context Protocol, if you know much about that, came out in November last year. AI agents are out now. So the unis are struggling because it takes them about 2 to 3 years to update their curriculum. So this is another problem. So Harry's going, resourcing is going to cost me an arm and a leg down the track. But look at him. He looks a bit rebellious in a way, doesn't he? He's going, bugger, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to implement AI anyway. And so, unfortunately, it goes all pear-shaped. The board's breathing down his neck. Why'd you spend all this money? So he's now in a bit of trouble. These are just some of the things that contribute to the slow adoption of AI in Australia, as well as trust. So that same report I mentioned before, 56% of people said, I don't trust AI. I don't trust the people that are out there putting it in, OpenAI as an example. So what do we do about that? Well, essentially at Natural Velocity, we're trying to solve this problem, and we call it an AI supply chain problem. So globally, we're really good at building AI, but we're not very good at consuming it and delivering it to customers so you get the right outcome, the right security, the right governance, and all the rights. So this is a problem, and this is essentially what Natural Velocity is out to solve. Can't do it alone, so we need your help. And the way we do that is we believe really the only way to solve this is through an ecosystem approach. There's no magical software that you can install and fix that problem. It requires a number of things all working together to solve this problem. And so we call this is our ecosystem, the Natural Velocity ecosystem. And it's made up of two main parts. The AI delivery network, which is essentially a marketplace that delivers AI, is curated. So we want to know, do the vendors have ISO 27001? It's all about trust dimensions so that people can trust it. And I'm going to go into a little bit more about the AI Innovation Centre. So as you'll see, we're going to solve a number of Unhappy Harry's problems as we go through this. The first way we do that is through an AI Innovation Centre. So think about this as a launch pad. It's actually located on the other side, and for anyone who wants a tour afterwards, happy to take you through that and show you. So we want to turn this site here, you may remember, wheel got built, wheel broke on a hot summer's day. It took about 3 years to rebuild it. That company went bust, and we went into COVID. So for 8 years, it's been doing nothing. But guess what? It's back in 2026, Yahoo. And so we want to turn this into Australia's leading AI centre. It's been a bit quiet here for a while, but it's coming back. There's lots of entertainment things you can do. But the first thing I'll tell you about this site is we run the network here. So all the Wi-Fi, all the infrastructure is run by us. So for startups who are going, hey, I really need a playground, where can I come and test on my robots? This is the place to come. Free trams right at the front door, 20 minutes you're at the airport, 1,500 hotel rooms within 5 minutes walk from here, and car parking, 2,200 car parks here, and it's $7 a day if you're a resident. So amazing. Free trams right at the front in New York City. So I mentioned that. So the next thing is startups are saying cloud compute's killing me. The cost is too expensive. I get bill shock from AI. So on that marketplace I touched on before, you can get Dell Supermicro servers, GPU as a service if you're into building AI. And so we also have on site here 2 computer rooms. So we don't like calling ourselves a co-working space. It's more of a launch pad because we are a tech company running Launchpad, not a real estate company running co-working. It's a very big difference. We're here to nurture AI startups and make sure that they're successful. We have community membership, hot desk, fixed desks, what you typically expect to find at a co-working space, but now we also have one of these coming shortly. This is a Platinum Studio. So it's designed with nice screens at the front. It's built out of truss, so it doesn't go into landfill and then just be wasting away there. It's built out of truss, easy to extend, just like Meccano said, if you remember many years ago what that looked like. And you can walk in here and go, hey Siri, turn the lights blue, as an example. So really designed to be much, much better than what you find in a co-working space. We also have an engagement network, so we run lots of events here. This is one. Next week we've got AI Camp. If anyone, it's Tuesday night, anyone interested in attending AI events. We have Hoyt's Picture Theatres here. It's just one of 12 event spaces. This is one, and so you can run events in Hoyt's Picture Theatres if you want to. We've got a large white tent down the back called Imaginator. We've run events in there as well, about 400 people. So there's lots of places here. District Docklands is actually just an awesome place to have this type of facility. We also have the AI Learning Centre. So in here we're running AI training programs. That's a picture over there, empty, as you can see. And so this is a destination. So think back to Unhappy Harry. He's going, where can I come and learn about AI? Well, he can come in here and learn how to implement it in his business. We're also going to be running AI Kidpreneur programs. So this is one of them. This is Mini Makers. So kids come in here. This is starting in 2026. Come in here, build that little robot there. It's got a Jetson Nano on it, which sort of makes it pretty cool. And so they, as I say, they build it. So they're doing things like programming, robotics engineering, they're building it, turn it into a little delivery network, computer-aided design, so they use 3D printers to print the outside case of that robot so they can brand it their own and so on. But one of the really critical things for kids coming forward now is critical thinking. They have to present back to their class and talk about what problems they solve, because critical thinking is a really, really important skill to have, particularly with the arrival of AI. This AI Creator, this is a bit more advanced natural language processing. You can talk to the robot, it talks back to you, so it's very friendly. Computer vision, and once again, critical thinking. Then we have the AI Experience Centre. It's next door, not completed yet, but startups can build tech and that goes in here, then it becomes a showcase. So it's all about uplifting startups to help them expand and go global. And the last thing for you, if anyone wants to have a tour of this, we also have an AI podcast studio that launches within the next couple of weeks. So this is where we'll be launching AI Velocity TV, talking all about AI and how to accelerate and how to do it in a responsible way. We have a lot of customers now coming to us saying, hey, I've got opportunities for startups. If they want to build tech, I've got a problem that they can solve. So once again, you can see we're really trying to help startups. So back to Unhappy Harry. He's now starting to get resources. He's got training. He can go and learn about AI in the Experience Centre. He learns about it online in the podcast studio. So I can assure you now, the story ends really happily. Unhappy Harry is now happy. Thank you very much, everyone. Any questions? Any questions? Normally get at least one.
We do them afterwards.
Yeah, sure. We're doing it afterwards.
We'll do it afterwards, yeah, exactly, when you get a tour. So, thank you, John. Give him a round of applause because we're really good at round of applause, Rach.
I don't think the screen's going to work for us, so that's okay. We can just roll with it. Tonight's all about failures, so I feel like very much on brand. Tonight we have 3 wonderful panel guest speakers. Just a plot twist, we had Mark Woodland from Kismet, who was scheduled to speak tonight. That's all good. But he wasn't able to make it last minute, so Jamal Cassim has stepped in for us today on the day. 24-hour turnaround time, so thank you so much for joining us and sharing your lessons with us. He also has to jump at 7:30, so if you see him ducking off afterwards, that is why. Yeah, who is that guy? Just to introduce him, Jamal is the co-founder of Untangld. It's an international strategy studio designing breakthroughs that move businesses. They've got clients like Amazon Prime, Coles, Saintly, which is a butt cleaning foam instead of toilet paper. So that would be an interesting one to move into the market. He's also now a certified Core Plus Reformer Pilates instructor, just to expand the net that is Jamal. He's also a prolific writer. You can follow him on his amazing work for Ultra On Site, which are the real probing questions dressed in glorious art and fashion. That's okay. It's all right. We don't need it. And he's also, as you can tell, massively into fashion. And we've got Teresa, who is joining us as head of product from Bupa, and she's also a YouTube creator. So she's very also generous to be here tonight because she's flying to Hong Kong first thing in the morning tomorrow for a holiday. So missed packing and missed work. She's here joining us as well. She's worked at Redbubble, Xero, Medibank, NAB, to name a few, and she started her own YouTube channel in 2023. 90 videos deep. Give her a follow. I know, she's boss. And then we have Ben Pecotich, who is kind of the reason why we're all here today. Yes, he will protest, but it is the truth. Ben! He is one of the co-founders of Sydney Design Thinking and founder of Dynamic 4. Which has over 10,000 members now and has been running for 10 years. Fun fact about Ben is that his grandfather was the dancing man on the $1 coin, and also an artwork on Martin Place.
Movie, actually.
Movie at Martin Place. So dancing's in his genes, and he's done...
In World War II parody.
Oh yes, it's just not for fun. There was a reason for it. And he's gone to over 550 gigs. So I'll hand over to these amazing guys now. Share your comfort level of failures, anonymize any sensitive details. We don't want to name or shame anyone here. And we're just focusing on learning and, sharing. Thank you, team.
Good evening, everybody. Yes, my presence here is a result of failure. Someone else failed to come, and here I am. The topic is a little challenging though, because when Rachel asked me to step in, she's like, "Got to talk about failures," and I'm like, "But what if Mance has never failed before?" And she's like, "You must have done," and I'm like, Sorry for being so perfect. Could I get a show of hands? Is anyone else here perfect and never made a mistake in their entire lives? I see one. I see you. Beautiful. Love that. Let's get drinks after this. Okay. Come up with some stories. Two stories. Okay. Two stories, two lessons. First one. So now, thank you for Rachel's very kind introduction. I am one of the co-founders of Untangld, which is a strategy studio. We develop breakthrough strategies. We're in here, Sydney and London, and breaking through stuff requires breaking stuff sometimes, but it was not always so. You may detect an accent. I've met a few other migrants here who've been here. I moved here 8 years ago, having spent my career in London. Obviously, that was perfect. I was kind of terrible at my job for the first few years, but then I became perfect. Anyone else relate? And we moved to Australia because my wife's a Queenslander and was getting really cold. And she's like, look, I can't handle another winter in London. I need to be by the beach, I need kangaroos, I need sunshine, I need the Aussie lifestyle. I'm like, perfect, let's go to Melbourne. I hear it's famous for all of those things.
No elegance.
And I came to Australia with this chip on my shoulder, which is, hey, I'm moving from London to this smaller market, and I need to have the best job with the best title in the best place with the most amount of money. And I got everything I wanted, and it was terrible. Because I came in, don't look me up on LinkedIn. Rachel did say don't name and shame. I thought I knew my job inside out. I'd been working really confidently for 15 years at that point, never having made a mistake in my entire career. And all of a sudden, everything seemed to be going okay except when it wasn't. My team really liked me, my clients really liked me. The first year went pretty well. Somewhere along the lines, something broke down. And I felt like kind of nervousness. It always felt like the room would go quiet when I walked in the room. Maybe my boss was telling me everything was fine, and perhaps it wasn't. And about 2 years in, I was fired from that role. Has anyone else been really, really perfect and never made a mistake in their entire careers except maybe getting fired or made redundant ever? Anyone been through that experience? Okay, I see a few. Okay, don't need to be ashamed. We'll have the support group. You guys can also join a support group of being perfect as well. That's fine. Maybe when we think about that as a failure, because I have since spent lots of time with people who've been through that experience, and I could see it coming. I think especially now at times when there's a lot of pressure, we're thinking about the negative role of AI. It's really curious with the talk earlier, talk about responsible AI, kind of like fun to think about irresponsible AI. We'll talk about that in our support group. But in the run-up to that, I kind of knew something was up. And it was that precise set of circumstances that compelled me to take a risk that I'd never taken before, which was to start something up with a couple of colleagues. And that is not a path I would have gone through if I hadn't failed at the proper thing. Failure is interesting because maybe a way of thinking about it is that sometimes failing protects you from things that aren't meant for you. If I hadn't had that negative experience, I never would have questioned my reality. I love the role I was in. I love that kind of agency. I'd forgotten there was maybe another way of doing things. And certainly that other way felt super risky. So that's maybe my first takeout. Failure protects you from things you're not meant to be doing. It is its own way of testing and showing you your capability. If you're never failing, you probably aren't trying hard enough. You're probably not in dangerous environments. So maybe that's a chance just to push things a bit. So that was my first story about it. And then Rachel said, well, look, that's great, but you need another story. And I'm like, yeah, got to come up with another one. Because obviously after having made my one mistake, things were perfect. But then I remembered something else that happened. So with Untangld, those who work in maybe small operations, especially if I got founders in the room, one of the classic things is how do I break that relationship between time and money? How do I find a way where I don't have to work for every single thing that I get, and that usually means some kind of product. It might be a software product or a physical product. I probably got a 30-minute presentation of its own of failed product ideas. I will give you a few. Tea, not in tea bags, and not loose tea either. Functional tea, so like tea that does stuff to you, like Red Bull tea, maybe? Instant coffee, but cool. Baby products, but for like hipster babies. That failed. Flip that. Parents for the products for the parents of the hipster babies. Wellness solutions. My favorite, sports beer. So beer is really good for recovery. You go for a run, have a sports beer? No. Pet products. Pretty much anything for pets that we get for humans. And maybe my favorite, the one we got closest to, was grooming products for Will Smith. We work with a company called Freedom Trail Capital. They invest in celebrity-based products, and through various means, we ended up being a 1% equity holder in a fund that was going to do Will Smith's first shaving range. And it got to the point where we were pretty much putting creams and lotions on the face of the Fresh Prince. That's quite remarkable. Unfortunately, some of the investors got a little bit nervy, got a little bit out of hand, and it collapsed. 6 months later, as much as we were very upset with that, we were less upset when we saw Will Smith get on stage at the Oscars and slap the shit out of him. And one of our partners who were investing in at the time said, do you realize if we had successfully done that, we would have been in production, we would have committed all the money, and we would all be going bankrupt right now. So yes, failure does protect you for things that aren't meant for you. But also, failure is this incredible research group. I may have had 30 terrible product ideas to varying degrees of finesse, but each one of those encountered reality. The universe is constantly running a focus group. It is your most accurate read possible of what is a good idea. And by constantly going out and putting things into the universe, you get closer and closer, I really believe, to the thing that might work, when the time is right. So when I'm thinking about this, here's some advice for you guys. Failure is beautiful. If you're not lucky, like the few of us in this room, to absolutely be perfect and never having made a mistake in your entire lives. But you guys are the real winners. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Teresa and I am head of product. And it's kind of interesting being here because it's all designers here, and I just did a collaboration around how designers tick me off and in product in terms of the team. But I'm here to kind of talk about my two big failures. Now, the first one is really what you see here is about assumption. So starting early in my career, getting into the product management space, I was like, yeah, I get to lead a team, I get to build things with the team. But for me, it was just like assumptions, like let's just build it, let's just get into the market without any proper customer testing, working with the designers who's completely frustrated with me, going, how do you know it's going to work? Like, we're investing things into it. And so for me, it's like, don't worry, I got this, you know, like as if people understand this. And I always thought I was the user. If I had the problem, then, you know, the customers also have the problem. Well, what do you think happened? Everything that we deployed was just failing. It wasn't meeting, it didn't even connect to a metric. For me, it was like, cool. The first time I had the product management title, I was like, I'm the leader of the group, I'm gonna make the decisions. Put your hand up if you've met one of those product managers before. Brief, night after night, every morning, you go, this is not good, write it again. Where is this particular idea? At the same time, the company was not making money. So there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of stress. At the end of the day, you know, for me is really finding some mentors around me and to really go, have I done everything I can? Like in this whole entire motion, my confidence was really low. Because, you know, in the last 10 years, I was like, yeah, I was killing it. I thought I was perfect, you know, but absolutely I was not. Because this one person just kept pushing me down every single day. And for me, it was like, how do I keep rising up every single day? You have to like think back, have you done enough? And at some point, you have done enough. It's actually, you have to go back and find your self-worth. Obviously, instead of saying picking myself off the ground, I was peeling myself off the ground as a leader. And what led to me, by creating all these content, and I know that the market's really crap, by creating this content, I landed a job. A leader who saw me, my content, because I was breaking out of the norm. I wasn't just applying for roles, I was putting my opinions out there. I was out there with one single purpose, is that I hope that my journey can help someone else to feel like this is normal. You just keep trying. That I can share my kind of leadership guidance or my product management skills in the last 15 years to help somebody else just to go get up and then keep going. That was my whole entire sole purpose. And I guess for me, coming out of that confidence was landing a role. I volunteered for redundancy so I can leave, and landing a role within 48 hours because I created a brand for myself. And then I had validation. Leaders who wanted someone with high agency, and wanted to actually solve problems for customers that the business can create revenue. And by working with a lot of great people around them as well. So those was my lesson.
I'm not that tall.
I know you two.
Not blowing through. Hello. How is everyone? Hello. So how do I fail? I don't. No. So I actually found this really hard, the brief. So I kind of almost failed at the brief. And it's not because I've got it all worked out and I don't make mistakes and I don't fail, but it's kind of because of my relationship with failure and what does that even mean? So when we started talking about this as a topic, I sort of went down this reflective rabbit hole of what is my relationship with failure? What's that word even mean? And so I reflected and I came up with what might be semantic gymnastics to get away from this, whatever my relationship happens to be with failure. But one of the key things is that not all failures are equal. And how and when we fail actually really matters. And so I drew a little pyramid. So when we talk about failure, at that little top bit of the pyramid, it's this really terminal endpoint, like it's concrete. It's not, this is a work in progress, it might transition to something else. Like the word failure is actually talking about the outcome and the impact of failing. I'm not into that. And I'm going to talk about failure because I've had plenty of them. But in my mind, you only get to the failure step when you stop. Anything before that point, something might be failing down the bottom here, but as long as it's a work in progress, then you're all good. So don't stop is probably the key. That's where the perseverance comes in. And then the semantic and subtle difference between a big F fail and a little F fail. And I'm sure, especially with lots of designers and product people in the room, hopefully we know all about the difference between those two things. But the big F fails, when things are pretty hardcore, we want to plan and design not to have that kind of failure. The little F failure is our everyday life. That's where we're learning and iterating, and that's how we design safe to fail experiments to really live in that little F fail place. And that's where I mostly live my life. So I had to frame it like that before I could talk about some other stuff. The other key thing as part of my relationship with failure is I do a lot of work and love positive psychology, positive neuroscience, and so even the concept of failure, what that means and how do we bake well-being and looking after ourselves into our workflow, what relationship do we even have with this? And hopefully everyone knows Carol Dweck. If you don't know Carol Dweck, please go check out Carol Dweck. Her book Mindset is awesome. But you might have seen, she became pretty sort of mainstream well-known with a TED Talk she did sort of probably 10, 15 years ago now, probably 15, where she talked about the power of yet. So again, it's the framing of what failure means. And part of her research was she went out into these schools where when they didn't pass, they got a not yet grade, not a you're useless. And often what happens with failure is we take it on as identity and as shame, and it's one of the most useless emotions that we have. Just shuts down everything else. So what she found as part of this research is that not only weren't they discouraged by failure, that other people might consider failure, but they didn't even think they were failing, they just thought they were learning. So that's my relationship with failure. Having said that, other people looking at me going, failed all over the shop, mate. So, cutting to the chase. That was my preamble to go, okay, how are you going to get out of this fail thing? So, the many ways I've fucked up is, and this is just some that I might share right now, over the last 30 odd years, I have co-founded more than 20 startups. And on top of that 20, there's a whole bunch of others that never actually got a name and sort of never went to market. So it's way over 30. And of that number, which is a lot, there's only about 6 of them still going. So that means there's been over 15 different startups that most of them got to market or very early too, that failed. And failure as in terminal, game over, nothing to see here, move on. And so that's 15 plus of them. And then most of the others, they failed kind of in that research phase where you've got an idea, you're starting to love it, you're getting it out there, you might start over-investing time, money, energy into it, and then the market says, yeah, nah, it's not going to happen, mate. Lots of those, and most of those, thankfully, we closed down before investing too much time and money. One of the things that I've experienced as you do that is it doesn't matter if it's a few months old in your head or if it's 5+ years, the grieving process for them is the same. You have to sort of grieve and let go of that idea that you thought was going to be amazing, and how you grieve and how big the impact, that's the thing that varies. So I'm not going to dive into too much detail now, happy to dive into more during the panel chat and over more beers. But 2 very quick startups. One was called Event Mojo. That went for 5 years. I was co-founder and CTO, and went really well for a while, got really good early traction. It was a marketplace for event products and services. So for event suppliers, a place to list all their products, not them as a business, but their actual products, so people who wanted event services could actually find the product they're looking for. And the paying side of that marketplace were the people planning, organising, attending events. Marketplaces, if anyone's tried to do them, they're fun. So I've had a few shots at it with varying degrees of success. And aside from equilibrium of supply and demand, which for real-time marketplaces is a next level challenge, but even without that, it can be easy to get the supply side. They're the people who stand to make money out of that marketplace. The paying demand side of that marketplace is often the hardest. So you can go, we had thousands of event suppliers signed up, but getting the paid demand side, that was a lot harder. So that's one. I'll share some lessons for that in a moment. Another one very quickly, also happened to go for 5 years that we ran it was Better Goals. So it was a social enterprise focused on people with disability, intellectual disability especially, their family and carers, and then helping put that person at the centre, and then be able to have them manage what was going on in their lives and having their agency at the centre of it all. Similar story, lots of early traction. The design research showed really high desire for it, both from people with ID and also their family and carers, and also the disability service providers as well. Lots of early stuff, ultimately couldn't get there. And we did this. Key things I've learned. Desirability. You can't solve business model problems with product features. And in both of those startups, we kept trying, okay, we just need this other feature, we need to polish the platform a little more. It was just constantly, we need to do this thing a little bit better on the product side and the experience side, which I'm really proud of everything that we did on both of those startups. But the actual problem was a business model. It was a problem that people were legitimately experiencing. All the design research, all the early evidence was for that, but was it high enough for them to change their behaviour and use a new tool, and then hopefully somebody in the mix pay for it? that was the bar that we couldn't get over. That's a desirability problem. The viability problem was, in all these, when you're doing a startup, it's really easy to get, and if this isn't the case, it's probably a red flag, really excited. and you're enthusiastic about all the possibilities in those early days, and so it can become all-consuming. And you sort of dive in and you don't necessarily do enough market research or due diligence if you're partnering with someone, because there's a sense of urgency and you just got to get in there and make it happen. But it's really easy, as part of that process, to overinvest more time, money, and energy. Two of those three things are non-renewable resources. You can always make more money, and you never get the time and energy back. So guard those even more than the dollars. But I recommend don't investing more than you can afford to lose. And if, as a startup founder or potential startup founder, you go, okay, I won't do it then, I'm okay, startups weren't for you. If that's the discouragement required to turn you off doing a startup, then now's a good time to stop. If you go, I'll be right, I can see a path through, and the optimism bias kicks in, and that naivety and irrational optimism, you're probably cut out for startup life. The final one is the feasibility lens. So when you're proud of your quality and you want to build good quality product, you tend to design for scale of what it could be, and obviously optimistic that it will be. And you design for reuse in terms of the product, and it's so easy to overinvest in that. And what's almost always true is whatever you build in the early days is disposable, and if things go well, you'll be chucking it out in a couple of years, possibly even less. And so anything you do around designing, building for scale in those early days, almost always a lost investment. So my quick recommendations are design safe to fail experiments, and do that with curiosity and empathy and looking to learn, not to validate your assumption, which means that you prototype like you're right, take a position, best available evidence, and then you test it like you're wrong. So you're doing the scientific method of learning here. And that is a semantic thing on paper or on the screen, but it's a 180 flip for most of startup language. We go validate our ideas, we go do all these things to go, why am I right, not why am I wrong, and how do I learn from that and iterate. And that's one of the painful lessons I've learned of 30 years of startups, and I still make the same mistake 30 years later. So good luck.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Ben. That was really, really good. So we're going to move on to the fireside type of conversation, but we need to check in Jamal. How's Jamal doing? Do you have to go? Oh, awesome.
15 minutes will give us.
15 minutes? Perfect. We better ask questions quickly, team. Okay. So, well then if I'm going to invite Jamal, Teresa, up to the stage, and Rachel, of course, who's going to be asking questions. And Ben, where's Ben gone? Oh, there he is.
I'm turning the lights on.
Woo! You can all see it's that horrible moment, like at the end of the disco, Revolver's turned its lights on. It's Monday morning. Oh, yeah, everyone knows that. So we need some microphones. Bear with us.
You'll be okay, Mickey. The free tram is just out the front, apparently.
There's always a one, isn't there? There's always a one. So I think the way we'll run this, actually, Rachel, how are we going to run this? Let me hand it to you. Whilst I do the microphones.
I love this. I think because we've only got 15 minutes with Jamal, let's open it up to the audience for if anyone's got any questions to start kicking us off. Otherwise, we can just ad-lib some questions ourselves.
Who's got a question? Come on. Thank you. You can shout if you want.
Hi, thanks for sharing your failures. I was wondering if you could share any practical tips for learning from failures, because I feel teams are usually doing retros or reflections, but the harder part is actually to learn from your mistakes. So what do you do in your day-to-day to even come up with these fuck up stories and learnings?
Yeah, let's swear more.
Awesome question. So both the guys reference this. I think there's something absolutely in the rhythm of self-examination as a team or as an individual, every day, every week, every quarter, whatever feels natural, to look back and reflect, both the good and the bad. But for me, that element that is essential, especially in a team, is doing it without judgment. Like being able to laugh at failures and take a light-hearted view, or even be somewhat neutral about it. You know, there are going to be failures where it's harder to deal with that, but most of the things we're talking about professionally are never really that bad. And being able to reflect without shame and without chastising yourself, for me, is the thing that helps it be really valuable and actually get the learnings out of it that you want.
I've got two. One is individual ones for my team. One is like I journal. So I have like a reflection end of the week where I just like, what are some of the things I think I didn't do well and how do I improve? And I kind of go back to make sure like I don't do it again. Obviously you do go into a cycle of like going back to your default, but that's how I kind of learn, and I kind of write it down on a piece of paper or a post-it note to be really to improve over time. And so for me, one of the lessons from career that I kept failing at was the commercial model. It was like, okay, learn a bit more about the commercial model. You're not understanding this. So it's like, that's going to be my development. Just one thing to develop. For the team, we actually, with all their retro, they write up and we develop the principles around all their learning. And sometimes, like we said, we have a psychological safety. You're like, oh, you fucked up again. You know, it happened again. But we sit down and go, why is it happening again? Because it's okay it's human natural to just go into the cycle. But we write things up and we reflect on their principles and we keep applying the principles so they don't go into this vicious cycle of like just doing the wrong things again and again as well.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point, building on what's already been said, of hopefully everyone knows and does retros in one way, a team or individual or both, ideally both. Action learning, is that a familiar process, method? So the key difference, they're basically the same thing. The key difference is with action learning, it's very explicit the why. So you still do what happened, what did you like, what didn't go well, what did go well, what are you going to do differently, and then sort of into the plan and do cycle again. With action learning though, the critical thing is that you also are explicit, because it's sort of implied in retros, but it's explicit about the why. So why did this go well? Or why do I think it went well? Why didn't this go well? So it's getting to that why where when you draw that out and you reflect on that explicitly, that's when you actually draw out the learnings and you crystallize that and then bake that into the rest of the cycle.
Beautiful. We actually do retros in my relationship, so taking design thinking
with
back
OKRs?
home.
And OKRs as well?
It's great. You learn so much. These are wonderful answers. Thank you so much. And Jamal, you touched on a little bit, as well as you, Ben, on shame, and how you coined it so beautifully, how it's such a useless emotion. And I think it's so easy when you're not in the throes of shame to continue on. But what do you guys do when you're in the depth of shame and you have to find that way to get yourself out of it, to keep going? I cry. Who hasn't?
I think crying is okay, right? Because you just want to let your emotion out. So for me, one thing I've always been taught is like your cup is overfilling, Teresa. You just need to let it out. And I think crying is probably my mechanism. Like not for like weeks. It's like I give myself one day. I can just relax, cry, watch the best like movies, eat whatever the hell I want to eat, and just kind of relax and calm. And so for me, that's like an outlet. And the second one that I practice more is meditation. Because, I go through a lot of imposter syndrome, even doing YouTube every time, put it out there, I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to hate me, I'm going to walk into a meeting, and my team always catches me, you said this in a YouTube channel, and then you did this, and I'm like, damn it, but people actually appreciate you being out there, because one of the things, I think it's the same author, is like, you're in the, or maybe Dan, somebody else, you're in the middle of the arena. so one of my leaders said, you're the only one in the arena doing the thing. Everybody is spectating, right? Everybody can give you any feedback they want, but they're not in the center of the arena delivering something. So they don't know how it feels. So it's all about perception, what you think. And for me to overcome that was really about building a very strong network, like Rachel, very strong network to validate like you're doing the right thing, it's working, and you just need a support network around you as well. And so that was one of the biggest things my leader said, like you're the one that's going up there giving it a go. Everybody else is just a spectator. They can say whatever they want to say, but they just don't know what you're trying to do.
Brene Brown says the cheap seats in the back.
Shame. Yeah. Right. Shame. I love that. Yeah. I don't have shame. Building on what Teresa says. I was in an acting workshop once where they taught us that an emotion fully felt passes through the body in 90 seconds, and it's only when you resist it that it gets all kinked up and lasts for months and years. So my hack to build on what Teresa says, because definitely cry, definitely feel it, do what you got to do. If you're feeling something and you're like, oh, I don't want to feel shame, actually try and feel it twice as much. Try and max out how much shame you're feeling, and that removes the resistance and really helps. So if you've got an emotion you're not sure about, like double it.
One of the things I'd think about with shame is what's the source. If it's external and it's someone putting shame on you and making you feel it's shame and judgment from an external source, you probably want to dial down that influence in your life. And that might mean being a little bit harsh sometimes, but you've got to look after yourself, and if someone's constantly putting you in the shame state, have a look at that dynamic. If it's coming from internal, which is also, we embody a bunch of this stuff, so if it's an internal perspective, then something that I like to think about is, would you say that to another person? Like, why would we say nastier stuff to ourselves than we'd say to another person? So have a look at where the change coming from, where some of that dynamic might be, and then dial it down, because it's really not a helpful emotion, and it doesn't help progress things. We tend to shut down, and big fan of crying. I'm a big fan of crying and writing. So, but process how you need to, but then look at where's that coming from. External, take some of that action. Internal, just be reflective, become aware, and dial down some of those combos you might be having with yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you, team. Everyone loves talking about shame.
Yeah, it's definitely Brene Brown's.
Yeah. And who doesn't love a good cry? It's such a good release, isn't it? Yeah. The Avon lady says it's even good for your skin. So amazing.
Speak to her.
Just a saying, I think.
She's part of the pyramid scheme.
I'm mindful of time as well. Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes.
I'll come to you in a moment. Well, I'll go first. Okay.
I'm really curious, once you've had quote unquote a failing or a failure, what is one thing that you do to learn from it?
I love the way everyone's done. Have no shame.
Don't learn from it.
I'll give it a go. I like that. One thing we do to learn from it. Okay, so we talked about reflection. One of the things that's a bit of a tell for me, if I've actually integrated it, is talking about it. So if I will tell a close friend, a colleague, or someone, I'll open up the curtain a little bit. There are lots of things that happen in my job where if I didn't tell people I made a mistake, they wouldn't even know. And I kind of know that I've integrated the lesson when I'm telling someone when I don't really need to tell them, or I'm telling someone in my life, because that means I genuinely have accepted it, as opposed to just put it in that secret box in my mind where I pretend that never happened.
Apart from crying, I think one for me is really big is writing it down. What exactly did I fail at? And two is within the next, I guess for me, a self goal for myself within the month, I will learn to how to improve on it. And I want to see that 1%. I'm not going after the whole of things, but is find an avenue where I can learn to get out of the failure or turn into a lesson learning, and put action behind it. Because for me, there's no point, yes, you can cry, you can write it down, but if you don't action it, you can never feel the learning. You can never feel what good looks like. So it's really writing and action.
Thank you. I'm going to reference my pyramid. So the failing, like a failure, that terminal state, especially in the context of that pyramid, if one of those is a surprise, to me that would be a real issue that I'd need to dive in much deeper. Failing, little f failure, big F failure, like I would expect a long lead time from something going not quite as I hope to this is catastrophic terminal failure. I would expect a long lead time. The difference between incident management and risk management for any IT service management geeks in the room. So, identifying a risk and then being able to take mitigating actions to go, how do I control this? How do I minimize its impact? That's risk management. And before you get to failure, hopefully you're doing a bunch of that. And some of it might even be grieving that you're going to have to let this thing go. So it's a process as opposed to a hard stop. And so learning from it it's normally a journey, and so it's not one crystallized moment. It's escalated. The things that I've tried to do to course correct haven't worked, and sometimes that's my fault, and sometimes it's just there's a lot of things. Most things are outside of our control. The sphere of influence and control are very different things. So it is kind of that difference between by the time it's got to that point, I've kind of already dealt with it, and it's almost relief by the time it's failure because now I can actually release and let go.
Thank you. Great presentations, guys. Thank you very much. My question is, do you have any insight or a reflection that you share with others that helps them come along the journey when failure is happening or feel more comfortable with what that actually means and how to push through it?
I love that you're nodding at me. That's good. Someone else a chance to go first. Everyone wants thinking time.
Since I'm doubling down on sphere of influence, control and concern, I'm going to double down on that. To me that is, like we think we have a lot more control than we actually have. And when we try to control everything, and we take that mindset to everything of I just do A, B, C and D will happen, it's not reality. It's D might happen, it might happen in this particular situation or context. It's not a universal thing. So the absolute absence of control we really have and how much of a luck actually plays in everything, not just where we're born and the conditions that we're born into, but the truth is most things are way out of our control and luck plays a huge part. And so you can take a nihilistic view of that and go, nothing matters then. That can be one direction. Personally, I find it freeing to go, so I'm going to do the best I can possibly do. I'm going to think about my reaction, the quality of my output, and I will take accountability for that part. How somebody else experiences my output, I can influence, but I can't actually control it. I don't get to design the experience they're going to have. I can influence the conditions, and I'm designing for the best possible experience, but I've got to release control. And then past that, most of the work I do is in social impact, environmental impact context. If I'm going to put myself on the hook for, absolute climate change, no poverty, world peace, I would be a mess. So I've got to be realistic about, and anyone I'm working with, and I find having that realistic expectation around what we can actually do, really doubling down on that, but then letting go where we need to.
There's a really interesting connection between failure and fear. I like what Ben was saying, if failure is a surprise, that's actually quite unusual. Usually there's this tempestuous relationship, especially in a team. And for me, one of the things that's really important is how do you make it okay for those fears that might lead to failure to be surfaced? How do you make it okay to talk about the elephant in the room rather than someone silently stewing and really worried something's going to go wrong or they might get found out? If we can focus on the matter rather than on the person and make it okay to say the uncomfortable things, that's a really healthy pathway where at least we can start to see those risks and things get surfaced early.
Yeah, I think picking up on what you're saying, surfacing up, I think making it, the environment is really important to be able to fail safe. So when I worked at NAD Labs, I had a board, was like every single thing that failed, because I was in incubation. So I took all the failed experiment, try to understand them and try to recreate them in a different environment. And so having a board visible and going, yeah, we failed, how many times have we failed? We didn't actually celebrate the success, we celebrate all the failures. Because we know once we can accept failure, we're learning. And then all the designers, people, engineers were actually taking more risk, and know that the boundary was okay to take risk, was okay to come up with some crazy ideas they were having in the shower. And you created this ecosystem of people start to be innovative beyond their role, beyond their title. And so I think for me, it's creating that environment, make it visible, and it always starts with you. If you want to change that culture, if you're a leader, especially leader, you want to change that culture, you demonstrate how many things you failed throughout the week. It could be as little as I didn't even show up to the meeting, I completely forgot. So by putting that out there, it encouraged other team members to be okay to also acknowledge their failure, but then we always go back to what lessons did we learn at the end of the week as well.
So beautiful. There's so much talk about being able to share your failures and how that means you've integrated that, and how that means other people can also learn and feel safe, which I think is what we're creating here as well. Just to close us out with the final question, thank you for everyone's patience. We know you've been sitting for so long. In a sentence, if you could send one message back to your younger self before a big, big fail, what would you say to yourself?
She'll be right.
Embrace it, because you're going to come out on the other side much, much better and much, much stronger.
If you don't tell anyone about it, they'll never know. And the illusion of perfection will be complete.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your amazing stories. You can see across all disciplines that these stories of failure are really universal, and I love that you're still so perfect, Jamal. There's so much that we all can learn from you. Thank you again, everyone, for your time. Thank you for joining in with your participation, your questions, and giving us your attention. We would really love you guys to all be a part of this MelbDT as it progresses. So we've created a little Slido, depending on if this turns on or not. It's just a vote.
It'll get there, exactly. So our idea is obviously to put on an event for you guys. So please do vote and let us know exactly what it is you're interested in, what we can talk about. We're hoping to host this monthly. So we need lots of content, we need good speakers. We need people who buy pizza, so if you want to be involved, we have no shame. I have no shame. No shame. He was funny. It's a cultural reference, but he's old as well. But yeah, so I hope everyone had a good night this evening. I'd like to challenge everyone actually. We've obviously been talking about failure, so we've got a bit of time. We've got some pizza left. No pizza, actually, that's my failure. Didn't realise how hungry bloody designers are. Only got a bloody slice of gluten-free at the end of it. Anyway, that's my failure. So yes, please get your phones out, folks. Let us know what you think. Well, my challenge was going to be, when you have a milling around afterwards, find someone who you don't know, someone you've never met before, and tell them what your failure was this week. And see where the conversation goes. It's all about connection, it's all about getting to know each other, and it's all about being open. As I say, have no shame.
Have a good time.
Have a good time.
Wow. Was that on purpose or?
You'll never know.
Thank you. I will find a better Slido and I'll send it out to everybody.
We'll send it out on the meetup.
Oh, you can just come and tell me. Answer these questions and come and tell me. I'll keep track.
The nice stuff, not the bad stuff. So I guess that's probably
it
for the presentations.
Yes.
Sorry, Rach.
No, I was just going to say, hopefully everyone feels a little bit better today about anything that they might be stewing over in terms of a failure. I know I do. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I was going to say, we've got a bit more time, so we certainly don't have to rush out the door. Please hang around. As I say, there's some more drinks at the back there, which I'll get out. So yeah, please mingle, chat. Go and say hello to each other. Now you can clap. Now clap.